Good evening. This is Jen, the Liberty Lion, and I've got this congressional record from the House dated March 28th, 1878. There's a lot of really good stuff in this one. This is starting on page 2112, and I want to go over something with you that is being talked about in the record. As far as what I've learned having been in the military and having been a civil servant for the Department of Defense, having read the officers' manuals, having understood jurisdiction, and having studied jurisdiction, what I've been telling people in my videos is that the Constitution has certain requirements for the president, the House of Representative members, and the Senate members, and that requirement, one of them is that they have to be a certain age, but they also have to be so many years a citizen of the United States. The United States are the states united, yes, but as far as their location specifically, as well as where they have legislative authority over, are the seat of government and the places they purchase for military posts. Now, there are people that have to be posted on those military posts, and those are commissioned officers. A military post can never be left unmanned, or it's considered abandoned, and it's easily taken over by any kind of enemy. So what this person in this congressional record brings up, Mr. Brentano here, is he's talking about the things that I've mentioned in some of my videos, and I will give you some background information so that when I read part of his speech, you understand what it is we're talking about. So the United States is a military power, and the states are a civil power, because the state legislators are the civil authorities, and the Congress and the president are supposed to be the military authorities. So when the state picks its people to be posted on the post, or its officers that it wants to be commissioned, it chooses them by the civil officers. The civil officers choose them, and they go to the district court, to the court of record in the district court, and they submit an application. They take an oath, and they probably have some sort of physical record, because you have to be to some extent physically fit to be a commissioned officer. So the president then looks over these things, or somebody from the Senate or whoever looks over these things and recommends yes or no that this suggested person be given a commission, and the commission has to be signed by the president. And then that person becomes part of the military authority. So that person, once he receives his first commission and he goes to the military post, he reports for duty on the military post where he is posted, assigned, which is in the state where the legislator suggested him. He then starts his time as a citizen of the United States, which is the military government, military power, because United States is military power. The states are the civil power. So he starts his time as a citizen of the United States, which is a requirement to then go to the seat of government to sit in Congress as part of the military power, because the Congress is in the District of Columbia and it is part of the United States. So let's see what he's saying here. Remember, this is in 1878. Even after the Civil War, the Constitution was sort of in limbo because there were corporations that wanted to go to the seat of government. They wanted to take over. And I believe this started around 1845, 46, 47, 48, somewhere in that time period when the progressives and the corporations started getting really big and wanting to take over government and wanted to put its civil government at the seat of government, to overtake the military and put the civil government at the seat of government, which is District of Columbia, where Congress is. So Mr. Brentano is speaking. And so again, we're at this point where they're questioning whether the government is being run correctly, because a lot of these civilians, such as the ones we have now, almost every single one of them, they don't actually belong at the seat of government because they haven't done their required time as a commissioned officer in the military working on a federal post. And this is a problem we're still having today. We have all these clowns up there in Congress running the entire country and the states as a civil government, where the civil government is supposed to be the states and the military government is supposed to sit at the seat of government. But just after the Civil War, or during the Civil War, maybe just before, there was a lot of issues with trying to get the civilians and calling them citizens of the United States when they had never had a commission, which basically disqualifies them. And from the point where they were civilians and not military on to this time, everything they've done has basically been unconstitutional, which makes all their acts and bills and so on and so forth void. Not voidable in a court, just simply void. So he says, "Now, Mr. Speaker, I ask, why shall we take away from the president his constitutional power to appoint the officers who are from the government in this district? Why shall we put the election of 2 of them into the hands of Congress and only leave the president to detail as the 3rd commissioner an officer of the rank in the army, which is prescribed in the bill? If we look at the Constitution of the United States, we find that the government is divided into 3 separate branches. The first one, the legislative; the second, the executive; and the third, the judicial. The Constitution defines the powers of Congress. It gives to Congress the power to exercise legislation in general. Okay, here he's talking about Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17. So if you don't know what that says, you need to pause the video and go read Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17 in the Constitution. I've talked about this article many, many, many times, this section and clause in this article many, many times in the Constitution. And what it's saying is, the first part, the clause is basically broken up into 2 parts. The first part is that the United States shall exercise exclusive legislation over the seat of government, which means the states cannot in any way interfere with what's going on at the seat of government. But the second part is that they shall exercise like authority over the places purchased for the erection of forts, magazines, dockyards, and arsenals. So these forts, magazines, dockyards, and arsenals in general are called posts. They are all military type things that the government needs to run its military government. Okay, so erection of forts, magazines, dockyards, and arsenals. Those are posts. We call them posts. In the military, we call them posts. We have post theaters, we have post exchanges, we have post offices, and I'm not talking about just mail rooms, but all the offices on post are called post offices. We have all kinds of post things on post roads, all kinds of things. So they're talking about two different types of authority. One, the seat of government, which the federal government has complete authority over. And two, like authority over the places it purchases to build these military posts. So in some of the states retained some rights over the military posts. So the federal lands, they retained some rights over the federal lands, such as a variety of things, but like, just to give you an example, such as serving a summons. So the sheriff in some states can go onto those military posts and serve a summons directly to a person on a military post, like a military person or enlisted or commissioned or non-commissioned officers. In other states, they didn't. And so they would go and they would give that summons to an MP or someone on the post, and then they would go and give the summons to the person. So like authority over the places in the states that the federal government has purchased, and exclusive authority over the District of Columbia. So there is no state that has any authority over the District of Columbia. So it's not a civil government there, okay? Because the civil governments are in the state. So he says, and to exercise exclusive legislation in all cases whatsoever over the District of Columbia and over all places. So he's saying, and over all places purchased for the erection of. But if you go and you read what's actually in the Constitution, it's like authority. It's not the same authority. While the powers of Congress are restricted to legislative acts, the appointment of officers belongs to the president. So the issue here is whether Congress can appoint officers and commission them, or whether the president can. So I don't know why this is an issue here. You can always go and look up this congressional record and read it all for yourself. But it was sort of like the president, Lincoln, wanted to deny the writ of habeas corpus when that was a congressional act. And now Congress is saying, well, we want to commission officers where that's a presidential act. So by the Civil War, and probably before, they haven't been following the Constitution for a very long time. Okay, so while the powers of Congress are restricted to legislative acts, the appointment of officers belongs to the president. And except in such cases as are otherwise provided for in the Constitution itself, the president has to make all appointments. I have therefore a grave constitutional doubt whether Congress can, by a law such as this bill, so they're passing a bill to try to give themselves more power, I guess, take away from the president the power of appointing the officers who are to form the government of the District of Columbia. I'm not sure what this word is. It looks like maybe that even if no constitutional doubts existed in my mind, it would still be for me a question. And that is because the president is supposed to be the commander-in-chief and the executive officer. He's the commander-in-chief. Now, if you go and you look at Article 2, Section 1 and 2, you will see, if you look for the difference is in what's being said, you will see that the president is the executive officer of the United States of America, yet he is the commander-in-chief of the United States Land and Naval Forces and the militia when called into service. So the United States is definitely, most certainly attached to the military command, and the president is commander-in-chief of all the military. So that even if no constitutional doubt existed in my mind, it would still be, for me, a question whether it was good policy to give the selection of two commissioners commissioners, one of the House of Representatives and one to the Senate. In this connection, I desire to refer to Story on the Constitution, where he says, the suggestion already made upon the treaty. So here is the problem that I have, and that is that a citizen of the United States is a citizen under the command of the commander-in-chief, who is the commander-in-chief as president and commander-in-chief of the land and naval forces and militia and colonial service of the United States. So the United States is the military power. Back up to president as executive, he's executive of the civil power, the United States of America. So if you are a citizen of the United States of America, you are of the civil class. And if you are a citizen of the United States, you are of the military class. And only a citizen of the United States qualifies to sit as a representative or a senator in Congress. Okay, so there are ways of writing statutes, and it's called the Golden Rule of Statutory Writing. And you cannot take something and say, well, that means this other thing. So in the preamble, a lot of people will say, the United States, when it says, we the people of the United States do these things for the United States of America, they're saying that the United States and the United States are the same thing, and that the United States is just a shortened way of saying United States of America. But what it is actually saying, according to if you follow the golden rule of statutory writing, is that the military power works to achieve all the things listed in the preamble, works for, and for is a keyword, of is a keyword, and for is a keyword. For means it's a contract. Of means it's within something, when you're talking about the geographical location of something, that the military power works for the civil power. So the military power is the United States, and it works for the civil power, which are the states, which are the United States of America. And there really is no question in my mind at this point whether or not the members of Congress are supposed to be citizens of the United States as the Constitution requires, and that those citizens of the United States are supposed to be commissioned officers for 7 and 19 years. Personally, I really, really want to see the actual Constitution sitting in, I think it's the Congressional Building in Washington, because the Constitution copies that we have say that the president's qualifications are a natural born citizen or 14 years a citizen of the United States. And that doesn't really make sense to me because the United States was a fairly new thing by the time the Constitution was written. And so the military power was a fairly new thing. But to make a long story short, it seems more to me that it would say not or, but it would say and. And so the qualifications for him as a citizen of the civil class, as well as 14 years citizen of the military class, it would say that he had to be a natural born citizen and a citizen 14 years of the United States. That's just a guess on my part. I think I'm right on that, but I would actually have to go and look at the Constitution, the original that's sitting over there in the glass that they don't let people look at, and see if it says and or if it says or. I think it says and, but all the copies that are available say or. So that's just a little question on my part. So we have here the congressional record containing the proceedings and debates of the 45th Congress, second session, volume 7, Washington Government Printing Office, 1878. Okay, so I will try to upload this. I'm having internet problems. I will try to upload this to archive.org, and I'll put a link to it. And recall, this was page 2112, I think it was, or was it 1212? I think it was 2112. Yeah, it had to be 2112. Yep, 2112. So if you go to this page, 2112, you look down here, and you can read all of this and you can get a better feel of what's going on. The debates were really, really interesting to read, especially around the time of the Civil War. The Continental Congress stuff is really interesting to read, which was the one I'm talking about is the stuff written during the Revolutionary War. Very, very interesting how they were worried, the things they were worried about, the things they were dealing with, the things that they had so that they could deal with their problems, and the things they didn't have, that they couldn't deal with their problems, and the interesting ways that they found so that they could deal with the problems that they had during the Revolutionary War. And they had a lot of them. And reading those really makes you want to think about all the trouble and problems and lives that were spent trying to bring forth freedom in this country. Freedom, sovereignty, liberty, and independence, tranquility, a state of general welfare, defense, and justice. All their ideas of what was important at the time, and how the things that they had to go through to bring those forth were, I can only imagine their exasperation and their fear and their courage. So interesting to read here. I'll be going over some more of this stuff here in the near future. If I don't happen to be able to upload this, you can always search and find it on the internet. There's a few places, probably it's called loc.memory.gov. So that's LOC is Library of Congress.memory.gov. So it's loc.memory.gov. I believe you can find this one on there. And again, it's page 2112, March 28, 1878, starting down here with Mr. Brentano. And of course, you can read as much of it as you like. I'm sure you'll find some really interesting stuff in here. With that, please consider liking, sharing, subscribing, and you guys have just a wonderful day.